You already know the story. Ancient humans were brutal, survival of the fittest. The weak got left behind to die so the strong could live on. There's just one problem with that story. It's almost completely wrong, and the truth is so much stranger. Because when we dig up their actual bodies, the bones tell a story almost nobody expects. And how they treated their weakest members reveals something far more unsettling about what they did to their strongest. Hold on to that, we'll come back to it. Start with a man we call Shanidar 1, a Neanderthal who lived around 45,000 years ago, and his body was a catalog of disaster, a crushing blow to the head that probably blinded one eye. His right arm withered and amputated at the elbow, a crippled leg, and he was likely deaf, blind, one-armed, limping, deaf. A man like that, alone in the Ice Age, doesn't last a week. He lived into his 40s, which is flatly impossible unless other people fed him, shielded him, and carried him for years. And here's the thing, he wasn't a fluke. He was a pattern that shows up everywhere we look. There's the so-called old man of La Chapelle. He'd lost almost all of his teeth. Crippling arthritis, a ruined hip. Every step would have been pain. Someone, almost certainly, softened his food so he could eat it. Someone made sure the toothless old man didn't starve. Now push back further, almost 2 million years, to a skull from a place called Dmanisi. Nearly every tooth gone, and the jaw had healed over long before he died. 2 million years ago, before our species even existed, someone was being kept alive who could no longer chew their own food. And a teenage boy in Italy, born with a form of dwarfism that meant he could never hunt or keep up, lived to adulthood anyway, and was buried with honor and jewelry. So forget everything you were told about leaving the wheat behind. The evidence keeps screaming the opposite. They chose each other. Over and over for 2 million years. Now, you should be skeptical right now, because maybe these people just got lucky. Maybe they survived by accident, not by kindness. How could we possibly know the difference? It turns out, we can. There's a whole field for this, sometimes called the bioarchaeology of care, and the logic is simple but powerful. A broken bone that healed means that person survived long enough to heal. A shattered leg, a body that can't hunt or gather, those injuries are a death sentence in days unless someone else does the surviving for you. So the healed bone itself is the proof. It is, quite literally, compassion fossilized. You're not looking at luck. You're looking at someone who was loved enough to be kept alive. Which forces the real question. In a world that unforgiving, why? Why carry someone who can't carry their own weight? Part of it was cold, hard logic. The old and the broken carried something priceless. Memory. Where the water hides in a drought, which plants will kill you? The last time the herds failed to come. Before writing existed, an old person was a library. Let that person die, and the entire group goes blind. Suddenly, the frail elder is the most valuable member of the tribe. And part of it was even simpler. Every strong hunter is one bad fall away from becoming the weak one. A group that abandons the injured is a group where, in the end, everyone gets abandoned. So caring for the weak was never weakness. It was insurance. The first safety net humans ever built, written permanently into bone. Okay, so they protected the weak. That's the warm half of this story. Now here's the half I told you to hold on to. The half that's genuinely unsettling. You'd assume the strongest man ran everything. The best hunter, the toughest fighter, the alpha, sitting at the top, barking orders. Right? Wrong. Again, and this is where the warm story turns cold. In these groups, the second man started acting superior, bossing people around, hoarding food, showing off. The group turned on him, quietly, and together. Anthropologists have a name for this, a reverse dominance hierarchy. Instead of one strong man controlling everybody, everybody quietly controls the strong man. And we don't have to guess how it worked, because anthropologists watch living groups do it. A hunter would haul back a massive kill, expecting to be celebrated as a hero. Instead, everyone insulted it. That scrawny thing? A bag of bones. You dragged us out here for this? Every single time, no matter how big the kill. And it wasn't cruelty, it was a deliberate tool. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they came right out and explained it. When a young man kills much meat, one of them said, he comes to think of himself as a big man, and he thinks the rest of us are beneath him. We can't accept this. Someday his pride will make him kill somebody. So they mocked the meat to shrink the ego before it could grow teeth. keep him generous, keep him level, keep him one of us instead of above us. And if mockery didn't work, it escalated. First the teasing, then people simply stopped cooperating with you. Then they'd shun you completely. And in a world where you cannot survive alone, being ignored was terrifying. And for the truly dangerous, the bully who would not stop, the man who took whatever he wanted, there was a final, chilling step. Anthropologists call it the ultimate sanction. The group, together, would decide that the tyrant had to go, and, often by unanimous agreement, they would end him. Execution by the whole community, to protect everyone else from one man's appetite, because they had seen, up close, what happens when one person is allowed to dominate the rest. The hoarding, the bullying, the violence. A tribe ruled by a single unchecked ego does not survive. So step back and look at the hidden operating system running underneath all of it. 2 rules. Protect the weak. And cut down the strong. Pull everyone relentlessly toward the middle. Not out of sweetness and not out of cruelty, but because for 2 million years, that and only that kept the group alive. And now we get to the part that is actually about you. Because here is the uncomfortable truth. You are still running this exact code right now, today. That little flash of satisfaction when an arrogant person finally gets humbled, when the show-off slips on the stage, that is not random. That is the ancient leveling instinct firing on schedule. The way you instinctively pull for the underdog. The way a braggart makes your skin crawl before they've even done anything to you. The quiet pleasure of watching the mighty fall. And your gut, automatic sense of, that's not fair. Nobody taught you that in a classroom. It is older than money, older than farming, older than language itself. It is the instinct that kept your ancestors alive. And that pull you feel to step in front of someone who can't defend themselves? Same ancient law, just the other half of it. Protect the weak, humble the strong. You feel both, every single day, without ever being asked. You are the latest link in a 2 million-year-old chain of people who refused to leave each other behind, and who refused, just as fiercely, to let any one of them tower over the rest. But here's the part that should keep you up tonight. That ancient system had one quiet requirement to work. Everybody had to be close enough to see each other. It worked because the band was small. 30, maybe 40 people. You knew the hunter. You could mock his kill to his face. You could see who was hoarding. No one could hide above the group because there was no above. There was only the circle. Now look at the world we actually built. We don't live in bands of 40 anymore. We built a civilization where a single person can sit above millions of strangers they will never meet. And there is no circle anymore. No one close enough to insult the meat. The leveling instinct is still firing inside you, but for the first time in 2 million years, it has nowhere to land. Which leaves a genuinely hard question. Were we ever actually built to be ruled? Or did we spend almost our entire history making very, very sure that no one could? I genuinely want your answer to this one. Think about your own life, your family, your job, your group of friends. Are you the one being quietly protected, or the one being quietly kept humble? And in the groups you're part of, is there still anyone left who keeps the strong in check? Tell me down in the comments. I read everyone. Because that strange, stubborn instinct in your chest, the one that wants the weak protected and the arrogant humbled, is not a flaw, and it's not just opinion. It's the oldest law your species ever wrote, and you are still carrying it. If this rewired how you look at people, even a little, then you already know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.